Good morning, everyone, from Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana. It's a lovely spring morning, and as many of you know, we have 3 eggs sitting up there underneath Harriet and Swoop's wonderful guard. It's just been a wonderful spring for those 2. We've lacked a little bit of the drama that we have in the past, which, frankly, I'm glad to see. This is a couple that seems to have settled in for the season, and we're delighted to have you with us. Again, we're going to be visiting the Hash Knife Ranch and our wonderful friend Brandon Carpenter, and I know that he's going to give us a midnight visit today. So let the film roll, will you, James?
Good early morning from the Hash Knife. Let me set the scene for you. It's just a hair after 2 in the morning. And it's time for a heifer check. So I should wake you guys up every morning and do this with me. I'm only 29 years old, but I look like this because of things like this. So I'll show you what we do. First thing we're going to do is get ourselves out of that nice warm bed that's back there. And we're going to come over and we're going to look at a temperature. And that's what I like to see. At least it's not too far below freezing. 27 degrees at 2 in the morning, a little after 2 it's not bad. Could be worse. It kind of lets me know what's going on. I don't hear the wind blowing outside. And I don't hear it raining. Of course, it would be odd if it was, but 27 degrees, we should maybe get some snow. And then I want to see what the wind is doing. And I've got a little special tool that I can look right from the house to do that. It's always good to kind of know what your elements are and what you're facing. So we just got a few cows, or really the heifers are ones I'm really concerned about, first timers, that we're going to be taking a look at. Yep, it's dark out. Well, a little spotlight, flashlight, whatever means you got. And it's got a little bit of snow coming down. It's not horrible. And see that windsock above the tractor there? Looking like it's pretty darn calm. So that's always a nice thing. I'll leave this outside light on. Take a look at what we got. I've got our hot box and a sled here to bring him in, and I've already got these gates set just in case I need to bring a heifer in. A couple ponies there, and here's our jugs, and I'm just going to keep an eye on what we need ahead of time, so that if you got a heifer that's in trouble or you need to bring something in, that you're not monkeying around getting a bunch of stuff ready, and can just get right at it. All right, so everything looks good there. So we come back out and around, and I need to check a cow and a calf, a heifer and a calf that I just brought in. We'll take a look at her, and here's our Bandit, the heifer checker. All right, we just walk around and got some electrical staked out from our last fiasco last fall. We're going to be changing a bunch of that up and getting some better electrical service in here. I can already see we got one up and a couple laid down. There's another laid down. Let's go take a closer look. This is really a pretty nice morning to do this. There's no snow on the ground, and it is relatively nice. So everybody's laid down. I've got no chance of tipping most of them over, And this girl here, I think, is going to be our last one to calve for our heifers. We're just down to the last 4. And I'm looking at things and just how they're acting. They're restless. And she's pretty good. I'm looking at that bag. She's not starting to fill any milk yet. Really, just barely showing. And look at her hind end. You can see this girl here is getting a little off by herself. She's got a nest built in here. And that's just more by moving around, I think, than anything. But hi. Good morning, honey. And she's starting to bag up a little bit. And looking at the top of her hips, right there by her tail, to see if it's starting to sink in a little bit. Those ligaments have loosened. You got a little bit of a divot there, which is no big surprise. I'm looking at her hind end, at the vulva, making sure that we're not seeing any discharge yet. This girl's really close. But she's been telling me she's been close for 2 weeks. She's killing me. Really nice, large bag, really filled up and ready. She's just starting to get a little discharge here on her hind end, so she's getting close too. And this one right there, she's really bagging up, and see that as well. This girl's going to be her, she's a little smaller cow, be her first time, but look at that bag is really getting tight. And she's what we call springing. That vulva is really loosened up. And I think she's going to be very close as well. I think she's having a contraction or two at times because she knows how she's licking her sides. A little bit of lick marks. So is she. I think that's just them responding to ouch, really. So these girls are all okay right now. So not a big deal. We'll go and take a look at this problem that we had here the other day, though. Had one of them calve right here in this pen, which is what we want. But I got out here just in time. There we go. Here comes Bandit. She's going to help me out. This dang cat. But I saw a calf and a cow, or heifer, and they were separated by this gate. She had it in here, right over here, and pushed this calf all the way underneath of this fence and could just barely get to her. Well, the problem with it was that she was acting just exactly like a first time, like a yearling heifer. Now, these are all coming 3-year-old heifers. We wait a year to breed them because of the maturity a little better. And they tend to take their calves, but sometimes they also act just like a yearling or a 2-year-old heifer when you're bred as a yearling. And here she is here. Here's a calf. And, sorry, yeah, you don't like that light either, but, you know, she's really was abusive to this calf. I mean, she was getting underneath of it and picking it up and throwing it and mauling it and pushing it with her head. I thought she was going to kill it. So, one of those responses that, you know, she knows what hurt her, but she doesn't understand why. And so I brought him in, got him in the jug in there, and I had to put her in the head catch and get her to stand nice and still while we got Junior here, this little heifer, to nurse her a few times. But she was really mad, really honky, and she's wanted to take me. So I didn't get any film on that because this little heifer was, I mean, she literally was in danger. So it was a matter of me getting to her, saving her, and saving her from her mother. But now she has really calmed down and taken this calf. And you see, you can't really tell here. She's not going to let me get in here, but there we go. Yeah, she hasn't nursed lately. It doesn't look like. You can see sometimes that hair around the nipples are wet or disturbed or kind of dried up, curled. Yeah, it's been a little while. So, but this calf is doing really, really well. And notice how she'll come up and take her. See if we can get her up. Come on, come on, come on, kiddo. Get yourself up. There we go. Yeah, I know. If I get up, everybody gets up. And you got the cutest little face. All right. She's like, why are you doing this? That was nice and relaxed. Felt good. I just kind of push her around, give her the idea. She might be hungry, and there you go. Look at that cow's going to talk to her a little bit. She says, while I'm up, I'm going to get me some warm milk. I see that cow shaking her head a little bit. At least she's protective of the calf now. And this was a whole lot different story than it was the other night. I didn't know if this calf was going to make it. She was limping on a foot, actually a shoulder, because this cow had banged her around. I mean, she literally was throwing her ahead of her and just kept pushing her hard, hitting her with her head and banging her into things. I mean, you just crush her. So I've kept her up close. It's been a couple days now, and she's doing much, much better. So there we go. Yeah, that's a mother's love right there. And that cow doesn't like me because she literally had to be smacked on the nose. I had to bang on her a little bit to get her to leave this calf alone because she was going to kill it. But now she understands a little bit more. She's calm, and the calf is still trying to wake up, just like the rest of us. All right. Well, that's our heifer check. Pretty quick. Not much to it, but there's a coffee pot in there that's ready to go just in case. And you never know what's going to happen. I might come out here on a quick check like this and takes 10, 15 minutes to look things around. And the other thing that could happen is it might take the rest of the night. I might be out here trying to pull a calf, or if I see somebody in trouble, and I'm not going to intervene until I have to. But when I do, you're in it for the duration. You got to make sure that whatever you're going to do is going to be there to help them. And it could take quite a while. So I may watch one if we got some feet starting to emerge, or I see one that I'm going to start the timer and give it an hour or so. And if they have progressed, then I just let them progress. But I'm going to keep checking on them. And if not, then we got to get them inside in the jug and pull a calf and try to help them out. So this is what makes the calving season so long at times, when these heifers need to be checked like this every 4 hours or so, 3 hours, or even sooner when they start. But tonight I get to go back in, and I get to start the story over with a warm bed again. So this is good. I don't even have to take a cat nap in a easy chair or anything. I can just go right on in and go back to sleep for a couple hours. Well, thanks for joining us.
Well, Brandon, I have to say that was most interesting, and I'm awfully glad we didn't accompany you lifetime.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm only 29. I look like this because of events like that. So, and that was not eventful. There wasn't much going on.
Well, but it does show what it takes to be a livestock producer. This is not an 8 to 5 job at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
And I think it's really, a lot of people who have not been around large animals and understand that, you have to be out there looking. You can have a video camera out there to kind of see in general, but you can't see what you showed us unless you're out there personally. That's right. You have to look at detail and really be thorough. And even then, you can miss things. I've got an episode that'll be coming up here after a while that shows a calf that I have to take care of. You guys will get in on that. And I think you'll like it, but it doesn't take long for a loss to happen. It can happen within just a couple of days if you're not really watching very, very closely. And I missed this one, and it shows, and it's my fault. So it's got an okay outcome, but we'll
we'll have to show that at a later time. But yeah, it's all about detail. And when you're looking at, a lot of cows, and you're checking them 2-3 times a day, it's easy to miss something. And I'm not making an excuse, but it just is. It's just the way it is.
Well, and I think a lot of us think as the birthing process is something that's very natural and easy for animals, but the truth is it's not. And
No.
I think what you showed us there about the initial reaction of that cow to her calf, that this is a first-time mother and perplexed, not knowing exactly what's happening with her body. And I assume that this is somewhat common in your line of work.
Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. The reaction, and again, we got another one coming up for you that's slightly different, but the birthing process, or maybe did we show that first time heifer? I don't think so. I'm getting, I see so many of them. I can't remember what I filmed or what I haven't or just saw, but I've got one that I think I have not shown you yet that is going to be very interesting for you. And it's somewhat like this, only this cow was much, much more aggressive. And it happens. And you're right. They don't understand. They're not for sure what's going on. I think once they've had a calf, they're much better about it. But they literally will pick these animals up and throw them with their nose and crush them and drive them into things. And, I had to smack her on the nose with my hand to get in there, and you take a real risk that she's going to turn on you because she's mad. She's just mad at everything and anything. And that calf is the focus of it because it's the closest thing. And she knows something had to do with this calf, and I'm not happy. So it's not uncommon, but it's by and large, these cows are quite protective of their calves. It's the heifers that are the issue like this sometimes.
So this really shows the value of a good breeding cow, and why if you get a cow that's a really good breeder, both in terms of her delivery and in terms of her caring for that calf during its initial time, that really becomes a valuable cow to you, doesn't it?
It does. It's very valuable because you put time into raising that cow, or if you're keeping replacement heifers and not just buying things, and if you buy them, you still have expense into it. So it's a matter of what will pay off sooner, what's your return on investment. But from the time that you raise a heifer from birth until she is now got a calf in production, that is a 3-year process for us. And actually 3.5 years by the time you sell that calf. So that's a long time, and it's a lot of feed into them. It's a lot of care, medical expense, maintenance of all kinds, from worming to fly control to mineral to hay, vaccinations. It's all balled up in that, and you multiply that over multiple years. If you don't have someone who's going to stay in your herd, then that's a potential loss. Even though they've made a couple of calves for you, it doesn't mean that they're paying for themselves. So it's a science. It really is. And I'm not saying that I'm good at it. We talked about EPDs before, our expected progeny differences, and you try to make a best guess at that. You look at phenotype and those sorts of things, but the cow is half of the equation. We've also got the other half, which is the bull. And so, I'm trying to make some of these cattle, the birthing process, easy for them. So I try to choose a bull that is likely to have a light birth weight calf. And so most of our calves are, they're in the 70s to 80 pound birth weight. And some of these bulls, I don't purchase them sometimes solely based on their birth weight, expected birth weight that they will have, because if you've got a heifer, and most people don't do this anyway because it's just, first-time heifers are first-time heifers. You have some bulls that some bulls that will produce calves expected to be over 100-pound calf, and that is, you're asking for problems. You're shortening the life of your cow. You can tear your cow up. She can prolapse. I mean, you can lose the calf. There's no reason for you to pull calves like that often. So there's science to it. There's some common sense to it, but there's also, genetics line up, and You think you're getting a light birth weight calf, and the next thing you know, you're like, wow, that thing's half grown when it's there. So, but for the majority, yeah, you're trying to improve your herd and keep that cow breeding and in your production. If she can have 5 calves in a row that are live calves and you take to market, that's a good stability. And that's one of your EPDs that you would look at. That how often is this heifer or then a cow reproducing? Is she doing it reliably, raising a good solid calf? And you have to look at the calves and look at their body score as well.
So how long can a cow be bred and produced? So you say 5 years in a row is really a sign of a good reproductive cow. So can they do this for 12 years, 20 years? How long can they do this?
Yeah, it's interesting. A cow, generally speaking, you've got about a 10-year lifespan on a cow. They live about to be 10, and after that, they will still breed. I've got a cow out here this year, that another episode that'll be coming up for you. You guys, we're stacking them up here. I'm making film like crazy, so we might be into August still calving with us, but not in reality, but in a telecommuting type time. But I've got a cow that's 12 years old, and she has a calf that she was looking good. I meant to call her, didn't, and now I'm having to support the calf with her. So, and that's an old cow. A lot of times our cows will reach 12 years old and still pack a calf, and it's usually the end of their reproductive lifetime. They're like a horse. They don't go through menopause. There is no such thing as menopause in a horse or a cow of any age. As long as they're old enough to support that calf, they will cycle and they'll breed. They may not be able to sustain a good calf. It may be just a peewee, something that looks really poor. That's most likely what will happen in those cases. But what happens is their teeth wear down, or they start to not be able to feed themselves as well as they should be able to, and that's kind of the limiting factor. And they're called a smooth mouth cow, if you've ever heard that term. That means their teeth are wearing down. A broken mouth cow means they're losing teeth. They haven't got much left anyway. And cows only have lower incisors, and then they of course have molars up and below. But so they're dealing with half their teeth anyway, because that's the way they graze. They're an ungulate that does that.
This is just fascinating, Brandon, and I really appreciate you taking us along with it. I had a couple come out this weekend looking at Dunrovin Ranch as a possible wedding venue. Ah. And one of the things I always tell people is, number one, this is a ranch. We try very carefully to control things, but you can't. Right. The short answer is, if I have a horse that's in trouble while your ceremony's going on, I'm out there with the horse. And that's just the way life rolls around here.
And it's not because we're control freaks. We are, but it's not just because of that. It's because that is what takes the attention first.
Yeah. And that's 100% of the days, 100% of the day. I mean, you don't get to pick when something crazy happens to one of your animals and you're just out there having to deal with it. So I like the ranch atmosphere for weddings, because it kind of whittles down people to who are flexible and people who are looking for a unique venue as opposed to a controlled one. I said, if you want manicured laws and assurance that everything's going to go well, go to the country club. This is not the place for you.
That's right. Because if you have the need to control something so it goes perfectly, that's probably your best option, because nothing is planned. And one of the things we do is, really with this heifer check, it showed that I was just going to go out and check heifers, and most of the time that's what you're doing. But you're also multitasking on other things that have come up and that you're having to monitor all the time. And it just doesn't say, okay, it's 2:00. I'm going to go check heifers and turn around and go back in. No, you got to check what's going on. And I worry, and I hear coyotes off in the distance here or really close when I'm out there, and I'm like, okay, I've packed my rifle out, but I can't see them. There's these things are going on live all the time. So multitasking is an important part of it, and it's not that you're trying to be more efficient. It's that you're trying to make sure that you're handling all of what's going on around you.
Well, and I think you just mentioned something that people new to livestock don't necessarily understand either, and that is that hyper awareness. I'll have a whole group of horses here, 10, 15 horses in one bunch, and I'll say to people, you really have to be aware of what's going on around you. Those horses don't mean to hurt you in any way. They're not
Right.
looking out to hurt you, but if somebody comes next to somebody else and you happen to be there, you can get hurt. So you have to have your antenna up at all times, just taking in the environment. And like you say, hearing things and seeing things. And it's, it's not like having your guard up, but it's sort of a natural way of moving through the environment that you're just taking it all in and processing it.
Well, and you almost have to develop a sixth sense about you, what's going on behind you, based on your knowledge of what's their behavior, what's going on, what's likely to happen, what could happen. And you're always monitoring that. So yeah, it might seem like it's paranoia, but it's not. It's just hyper awareness. You just have to be aware, because this is not a area or in a job, if you want to call it that. It's really not. It's a lifestyle that is without risk. This is one of the higher risk jobs that you can take when things that you can't necessarily control. I mean, there's a lot of others, being a soldier or in law enforcement, things like that. There's a lot of risk there too. But there's a ton of risk in this thing, and largely during calving, I'm alone. So something happens, and I'm training horses at the same time, so I could have something happen, and there's a real possibility that I don't answer a phone, and they might find my torso hung up in a stirrup when they find me, later that day or that next morning when they can't search at night, with a horse that I'm still attached to. I may not be there, but my body is, and that's a reality. That can happen. You just come to terms with that. It sounds crazy, but it's not. It's a very real thing.
It is a very real thing, and I think everybody has to have an understanding of what to do and how to do it in those kinds of circumstances. I mean, you really just have to have your thought processes are very different than a lot of people who are not in these kinds of circumstances. You assess things, you take it in, and you know what to do next. I mean, it's really different. We do have a question about what happens to your cows after they reach their prime calving age. I assume they all go to market.
Yeah, they do. You want them to have good enough flesh. You can see that, okay, you got to kind of have a little crystal ball and say, okay, it looks like this cow she's not really recovered like she should. Her calf is not quite as thrifty as it should be. It's not as fleshy. So those are good indications that, okay, this time for this cow to go to market, and she will. She'll go to market. She'll go into the food chain. And that's mainly where you're going to get a lot of your hamburger. In reality, that kind of food. She's not really good for a butcher animal to go as far as steaks and your roasts and things like that. I mean, that's bulls and your older cows are basically your hamburger type processed meats. So there is an exception or two, and when I think I mentioned looking some of the cows over last spring, and or when they were on summer pasture. So I guess it was midsummer, and we're looking at it, and I said, well, yours is getting a little bit, I don't know if she's going to make another year. We might have to just cull her out and send her to market. And Lisa didn't say anything, and I went, oh, I know that noise. So I said, well, maybe we'll just let her stay here. And then she starts crying. Women get emotional about these things, and so do we, but yours will stay. She'll just live her life here because she has been such a fixture. And she, whenever you got a cow that kind of gets under your skin a little bit in a good way, it's hard to let go. They almost then become pets, and that is the stupidest thing you can do as a producer. You don't name an animal like that, and you don't let them do that. And you certainly shouldn't let women down in the corral to get emotionally attached. That's, It
didn't take me a week to get emotionally attached to ears when I was there, Brendan. I don't know if you remember, but I warned you if she was missing when I pulled out with my horse. don't follow because I had her.
I don't think you'd have to load her up. She'd probably just follow you home, so,
Yeah.
but that's what happens with some of the cows that are no longer to produce good, solid, butcher steers and heifers or, feedlot type ready cattle. They're at the end of their life chain, and, we've tried to manage them so that we give them a little bit longer life that's easier for us. Frankly, they produce a better calf, and they do live a little bit longer generally doing that. And then, we send them to town and hopefully have a good, sound and quick death that will feed us.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's the important thing, is that there's quality throughout the animal's life. And I think that it's clear that your family has a commitment to that, and we appreciate it. Yeah. Well, I know that Ashley's out there with our Oggy waiting for you, so I'm going to pass you off. And I just want to thank you again, Brandon, for opening your barn doors and inviting us in. Really appreciate it.
Well, they're open because they're too broke to close. So that's part of it. You got to work on that. Oh, you're welcome. It's always fun to do this. And, the more I do it, the more I realize I don't know. I mean, that's just the way, life is as you get older. When you're young, you think you know it all, and you quickly learn that you'll never stop learning. And so I'm there with you in a lot of things, and hopefully I can pass something on that kind of gives you an idea of what we do in our life, and if people will appreciate it and enjoy it, and have a little bit more pause for how they eat, what it takes for them to eat.
Yeah, well, certainly. Thank you very much, Brandon. And Ashley, I assume you're there.
I sure am.
Hey, Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing well. I got Oggy hooked up here, and we already broke a piece of leather.
Well, that's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the leather keeper on this rubber shaft loop. So
okay,
we'll have to figure something else out for that. But
yeah, we may just have to. I like your loop idea. It's not stretchy, but yeah, we may just have to go with ropes or a solid piece, something like that that's not going to break, and
right,
it's kind of a pain. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it'll hold up much longer today, but I'm going to try to get it tucked into the pack board so it can at least have some pressure
that's
on
good.
it.
Well, at least if we can get a little something there, that would be phenomenal. So if you broke it, that means you were going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, we were taking a little practice lap before I got started with you. But I unfortunately was not able to do homework last week. I was in a lot of shoulder and back pain, and trying to do this was just not going to happen. So I got him hooked up this morning, and he balked at it maybe once or twice, but after that I got him to back up to it, and then just got him attached, and he's been good so far.
Well, there's something to be said for a little bit of time off for them too, and this is a really good test for that, because you haven't done much with him, and look how he is behaving.
Boy, who? Yeah, I mean, he's being really good.
Yeah. So there's times when you train and has an opportunity for nothing to happen, or you can't do something, and if they have been working through some issue, like with him standing still or backing in or over these shafts, then this is a really good test that, okay, a week has gone by, we haven't done much with him, or very little, or a number of days, and so you hook them up, see how they do. And,
let's see where he's at.
Yep, it's a really good assessment to do that, and it's not a bad thing to give him a little time off. But you're not working him hard. Heck, he's there, and the other flip side of that is, in order for him to be doing well, you need the consistency of the work too. So
exactly. Yeah.
It seems paradoxical, but it is necessary to work consistently, but it's also necessary to give them time off and evaluate that work that you've been consistent at working on.
Yeah, a little bit of rest so you can go back to work even better. That's kind of what I did this weekend. I just took the weekend off, and I was like, you know what? I'll take next weekend. I'll work on next weekend. I just need a couple days off.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. The back issues are, I think most of us suffer from back issues, one time or another, or chronically, but you're going to find, if you play with horses a lot, Your shoulders, hands, elbows, they kind of take a beating, especially your shoulders.
Definitely.
And I know a lot of guys when I was a young kid that the older guys, they always complained about their shoulders hurting. You know, that, oh, geez, they must be getting old. Well, guess what? I know a lot of guys my age that complain about their shoulders hurting.
Yeah, a lifetime of throwing saddles up 6 feet in the air will do that to you.
Well, that and trying to hold something in hand, you know, and
Right.
Leading a horse, and all of a sudden he spooks, and you're holding tight and jerking your arm out of the socket, things like that.
And then you're holding onto a 1,000-pound kite.
Yep.
Okay, so I took the rubber strap off of this side, and then I just looped the rope around because it's the rest of the, what is the word? They're lines, not lines.
Your traces?
My traces.
Okay.
I'm trying with the words. So I just looped the extra of that around and then tied it back up to the top of the saddle. So hopefully that does something for us.
Yeah, that's fine.
But,
as long as it's not going to put any kind of pressure on your traces or change that, and you've got that tied off, I think that will probably work just fine.
Yeah, I've got it kind of like the traces coming up to the ring on the pack board with the clip, and then it's coming down at a triangle wrapped around the shaft and then back up to the top of the saddle. So it's kind of like a big upside down 4 is what it looks like.
Okay, yep. The shaft can slide through it still. It's not like it's a hitch around it.
Right. I've got a loop around it.
Yep, that's okay. I think that'll probably work. It's worth a try.
Yeah. So after today, I will figure out some other thing to do with the shaft loops. Yeah, I'll try that yellow twine again and maybe just try a different way of tying it, or maybe I can like burn it and melt it together or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to have a knot tying things where you can back braid that and make an ice splice would be really good.
Okay. Maybe I need to take a trip to the Tractor Supply, get some different kind of rope.
Yeah, even just an overhand knot, so you make 2 loops, and what I think a good solution might be is to measure the distance there, get yourself a chunk of rope, and then it will go through or around your D's, so it kind of stays somewhat stable, and then you just have 2 loops on each end of your rope that your shafts can go through. And I think that might be as easy, simple, quick, and it doesn't take a lot of fancy knots or anything like that to solve the problem. And it's not going to go anywhere. Okay. It's not going to stretch, and it certainly shouldn't break. Right.
And there already is this blue and white rope that's attached to the saddle, so I'm wondering if I can repurpose this, but I'll have to see what it actually looks like. It looks like it's like tied or attached together.
Is it?
Unless this actually has a use.
Yeah, and I can't tell. It's not a and that's tied off to your ring there on your rigging at the pack board, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's all already built in, so I won't mess with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It's not enough for a sling rope. It sure doesn't look like. Is it? And it's not got a ring attached. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's just one loop attached on the near side, but then it's attached to the ring on the pack board.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's being used for.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I'll figure out something with the rope then.
We didn't put that on there, did we? I don't remember.
No, it's been on there the whole time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's something that I'm not sure what was being used for. So.
I don't know. Okay. Maybe Suzanne has an answer for me later.
I'll bet she does.
Okay, let's go forward. Whoa. Yeah, he was doing really well. He went in a big circle around the arena. And then once that other loop fell off, then he kind of spooked at it. So I just stopped him and checked it out. Okay. Good boy.
Very good. It looks like to me like you're stopping him each time.
Yes.
Good.
Well, so the little stops, those are his doing.
Oh, okay.
And so I just keep walking forward and he'll come with me.
Okay. All right.
Forward. Good boy. Easy. Take a turn.
Now, one thing to pay attention to after you've turned and you take just a straight walk is look at the position of your single tree.
Okay. Yeah, I see it's turned. He's also very far to the left side. Like he's not centered.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. When you're on a straightaway where he's pulling evenly, then take a look at your single tree and your traces. You have to just shorten the one up. It looks to me like you may have to shorten the one up on the near side as your shafts. You're about behind the point of his shoulder, which is okay. It's just a matter of always keep an eye on those sorts of things.
Okay. Let's see if I can do something about that. Oh, it's the way that it's tied into the clip is like too long.
Just a little longer. Yeah. Okay. Can you shorten it on the other end down there at your single tree? Is it easier there or does it matter?
No, well, I mean, I could. It's tied into the quick link. I don't know if.
Okay.
Say.
Yeah. Whichever's easiest for you, I guess, is what I'm looking at, Ashley, because you got a lot of stuff there at your pack board.
Yeah. Let's see. We're going to hope he doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't look like he's going to want to run off her yet. Yeah. And this is where you get, God, you got to really watch your fingers because if something happens and you got a finger in a loop, you can lose it. Literally get a finger tore off. He's just going to relax a little bit. That's good. How's his foot doing? It looks like he's got full weight on it right now.
Yeah, he's resting on it. I mean, he's been running around all week. We brought Lady Lonza and Whiskey over last week, and they were just running up and down the runway and the pasture and everything like that. And he seems like he's doing fine. I haven't felt any heat. I haven't felt any swelling. I haven't seen any lameness. We haven't been working in the round pen, so I'm not having him do like sharp turns or anything.
Right.
So he's kind of just been left to his own devices for the week, and he's been doing all right.
Okay, good.
But
all right. If we get some good turns out of him and a nice straight, compliance where he's not trying to just do what he wants to do, we might have to take those lines down and see if you missed a grain. But it's up to you. It's always better to be safe and make sure we're really, really making sure what we've done is the right thing and that he's ready for it. So if we're just going to move him around, that's okay too. We won't worry about that.
I think I want to make sure I have a really good stop on him before I try and put the lines on him again.
Yeah, that's más importante.
Yeah, got to make sure he can stop at a red light.
Or even a yellow one.
Right.
That's exactly the right thing.
Good boy. He's definitely not just taking off like a rocket again at the get-go.
Good. Yep, just familiarity. That's good. Yeah, he's nice and even. He looks like he watches it.
Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. You don't need the sniffing right now. Good boy. Good. Yeah, so when we stopped, he's mainly staying on the side that I'm on. And so when he stops, it kind of digs into his shoulder.
I see he turned his hips out a little bit. He's going to have to learn it. When you say whoa, you say whoa.
Yeah.
And he's shedding, and it's probably just rubbing a bunch of hair off of him, too, it looks like.
Right. Oh, my gosh. Every time I tack him up or untack him, I'm just absolutely covered in what looks like dog hair.
Yep.
Doggy.
You'll learn to enjoy that in your food.
Right. As if the cat hair wasn't bad enough.
Yes.
Oh, good boy. Good boy.
I like how he's accepting that shafts are putting pressure on opposite corners of his body, the shoulder on his left side and then his hip on his right side on a turn. That's good.
Yeah. Good boy. Yeah, I mean it's poking into his shoulder the entire time here, so I don't
Well, part of
I
that
don't know
is
if that's going to be uncomfortable for him.
well, I think what you need to do is, and I was going to mention this, once we get a little settled in and you feel good about it, lead him on his offside, just like where you're at, and see what takes place there.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to kind of get us to a point where we could make this turn. So I think we're about there.
Yes. And work him on your side too, because his head is going to be turned a little bit. He's used to looking at what's behind him out of that left eye. And so it's important that we also have him looking out of that right eye, what's behind him, because it's going to be, a new experience, because you know how they are. What you do on one side, you need to do on the other. They don't necessarily put it together.
And then once I'm completely behind him, then he's going to be like, well, where are you?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Then you're truly driving him instead of leading him.
Yeah. Okay. I see. All right. Quick link. Quick fix. Okay. There we go. Thanks, James. I guess the quick link was in the wrong position.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll give you a little more length. Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah. Okay. Forward. Good boy. Easy.
Yeah, see how he's still wanting to look out of his right eye or his left eye there for a bit.
Yeah.
Yep. A little bit of pressure. He's feeling that. He's not used to it.
Good boy. Good boy. Oh, good boy. Good boy.
Much better. Yeah, see, the shaft is away from his shoulder on the near side, so I would suspect he's probably into that shaft a little bit on the right side, your offside. Right. Yep, yeah. And looks to me like your single tree is a little square now, so that quick link, yeah, I couldn't see that at all, the hookup, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's
I didn't notice it. I think I had moved it to try and get the rope over, but good catch, James. Thanks.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, fixing that and then tightening up that other side has definitely helped keep it square.
Yeah, good.
Forward. Still wanted to just walk into me or walk right behind me.
Yeah, he's still watching out of that left eye. Now there's a thing called blinkers on a harness, halter or bridle.
Yeah, I've seen those before.
Yeah, and a lot of people use those because they don't want that horse to be focused on anything except what's in front of them. And to me, that's just never ever made sense as far as, is this horse really desensitized? Now you're just kind of hiding. And if they hear things behind them and they can't see them, then, it could potentially cause an issue. Now, millions of horses have been driven with blinkers on and without issue. So take that for what it's worth. I prefer to have that horse be able to look around. I just like that. The same reason why when I train in a round corral, it's not an enclosed area. I want that horse to be able to see around them instead of strictly focused on what's in front of him or on you. So yeah, he's just getting used to that. I see he just kind of balked a little bit. It's like, this doesn't feel right. I don't like this. Right. So that's good.
We were doing good up until then. So.
Yep. These are just necessary. That's not a big deal. I think you're doing well.
Good job, Oggy. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can keep doing stops and turns. I would have to put his bridle on him because I just have a halter on right now if we were going to drive him.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think let's try to do something, and that's in what you're already doing on this side is having him feel the pressure, and he'll stop. He's kind of lifting his front end a little bit, like I don't like this. Well, tough. He's got to get used to it. What you can also do is begin to tighten your circles a little bit, so he's having to do more of a half pass, and he's dragging that front end around, kind of skidding it around instead of dragging it straight behind him. Because we're going to have to have some tight turns at times, and we need to prepare him for that. So
to get through the pasture.
Yep. So I think trying that, give him especially do the tight turns on the other side where he's more used to that first, and so that you're just increasing that pressure and then driving him more, or not driving him, but leading him more on this side to get him used to it, and then begin to tighten that up as well on your turns, make those turns really tight. So I think that's probably our best course of action for now. And again, look at him. He's nice and calm. He's quiet. We've turned the corner on, and I say we, that means you have turned the corner on.
You're here too.
Well, yeah, it's a distance here, but it's, you know, if I can be any help at all, but you've put a lot of work into him, and it's showing, and it's paying off. And this is where he really needed some discipline, and this is it's paying off. And as you can see, you're not fighting him on anything other than just stopping and going and these turns, which is where we want to be.
Yeah, I'm gonna tighten his cinch up just a bit.
And I would assume his breast collar is pretty tight.
It is.
Yeah.
I still have to go through and pull it back a little bit more, but it's tight on the horizontal, just not the one that's coming up to the saddle.
Okay. Yeah, and the interesting thing about a harness is, and was kind of interesting for me to get used to, is I'm normally, you know, thinking about putting my weight on a stirrup and putting myself up there, and that saddle needs to be not super tight, but, you know, it's just so it'll hold on his back. And a true harness, when you're harnessed up, doesn't need to do that, and it doesn't need to be as tight as like a pack saddle does. Of course, again, full disclosure here, any self-respecting teamster wouldn't be doing this, right? So,
right. But a harness comes up here through their withers and their shoulders, and so, you know, if you have a little bit of slack, they have to get the opportunity to push into it,
right,
to start pulling what's behind them.
Yep, that girth is really not very tight. It's just there and just kind of snug to just kind of hold everything in place. You're not putting any weight on that. So, but this is a different thing, entirely a different purpose. So we're using this as a pack saddle, yet quasi harness, light harness. So
yeah,
good there.
Yeah, and I mean, I can pull a stone boat by hand. Like, it's really not that heavy.
Right.
Once you throw a bale and me on there, it'll get heavier, but it's not anything that he's not capable of pulling, you know, with the saddle. I would be more worried about the leather than I would about him not being able to pull it.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. That's why, you know, make sure that those straps are well oiled. They've got some strength in them. They're not dry. And because you could sure break some of those breast collar straps pretty darned easy. Yeah, so that's the important part. But you're exactly right. I'm not worried so much about him as I am now the leather or the rigging holding. And if it breaks, then that can spook him, because all of a sudden he's lunging forward because something's let go.
Exactly. That's what happened on the other side. Right before we started, the strap had broken on the off side, and then he was like, "Oh, what do I do?" So I just pulled him to a stop and then checked it out, and then, you know, just kind of retied it. So he's fine. He's not going anywhere. No, he's good. Forward. Good boy, easy. Ooh, get away from that rail.
And when you turn tight, notice how he should half pass around, you know, with that front end and hind end coming a little bit sideways to accommodate. Yeah, he's still kind of balking at that because of the pressure, but this is the important thing to work on.
Oh, we're still attached.
Yep. Now you're looking good so far.
Forward. Good boy. Oh, no. You little brat. Forward.
Good. That's better. Oh.
He said, today is not the day.
And this is more of just desensitization of different feel on him, and that's all he's balking about is that squeezing him a little tighter and tighter as you turn tight. And just because you're up against that fence is a really good reason why he needs to learn how to half pass or side pass.
So if he actually does the pass correctly, is this shaft not going to dig into his shoulder? Because, I mean, it's really like pushing into his shoulder.
Yeah, it should, and that's why it should be out just right at the point of his shoulder, so he's pushing into the bar and not the end of it.
Okay, I think the footman's loop needs to be back further than because I think the whole thing has him too far forward.
Well,
but I can't really push him back any.
Where that loop should not be really pulling. That should be just for backing up.
I know, but to have him standing in the correct position.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Just lengthen your straps then.
Okay, well then I have to get different straps then, because I can't. That's the longest that one will go. Okay.
Yeah, because your shafts. I see what's happening is that we've got that length of that is not allowing your shafts to go forward. Then okay, I got you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So a little bit longer.
So every time he turns, it's stabbing him in the shoulder, and I would imagine it's uncomfortable, not just that he's balking at it.
Right.
But it's got to be almost painful.
Well, it's putting pressure on there, and the pressure is telling him to move away from it. So yes. Right. Okay. So that's a good observation for problem solving there on why he wouldn't want to turn. He could also be smart about it and turn into it with more side passing or half passing.
Yeah.
But it's it's where his neck is at, and he's following you around, so that will cause that to happen.
Okay, well, let's try.
Articulating his neck.
Easy. Oh, good boy. Oh, yeah, because this is all just getting tangled up now. Yeah. Shoot. Because he needs to be like another 3 inches back up.
Right. Correct. Yeah. And I see your holdback straps are holding. Yeah. If he's right like that, your holdback straps need to be 3-4 inches. You're dead on, I think, and it still gives him plenty of room to move in front of that single tree.
Well, if I wrap this leather loop around just the bar, do you think it would work rather than through the footman's loop?
Well,
because I wrap this leather
just once through.
Strap,
how many times is it wrapped?
Twice. I did it like that last time, where you had me wrap it through.
Go ahead and unwrap one wrap and see what that does.
Ooh.
That'll buy you on that 1 inch. You're going to buy yourself about 3 inches. If pi times diameter equals
the circumference of the sun.
Yes, you should be pretty close then. It'll help. And then you can also loosen that out to the last. You can take that to the last hole too, or the next hole out.
I had it wrapped around twice, and then it was on the last one. So we'll try it on the last one again.
There you go. Put it. Yeah, just take your wrap out and put it in the same spot. There you go. Okay. And then try your other side so you're even.
I switched him out to a longer lead, and that seems to help me keep him in hand.
Good. Yeah, you don't want to. You're in a precarious spot there where you want to stay out of the way of getting the shaft in the back, and then getting run over by a runner on that stone boat potentially. Think about all of the worst thing that could happen.
All right, get our tree straightened out. Yeah, they're still coming up at quite an angle, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. The holdback straps.
What do you mean at quite an angle?
Well, on this offside, let me turn my camera on. Are you able to see it? Yeah, okay. It's kind of like that.
Okay, yeah.
And it has the shaft up at his shoulder.
Okay, yeah. You still want him. There's plenty of room there. The whole point is those straps have to be in front of your harness on your britching so that you are holding back instead of having a lot of slack there. And you've got one wrap on there. You opened that up a little bit.
Yeah, so this is one wrap, and it's all the way on the loosest hole.
Okay, so that's going to allow the shaft to move forward now. Let's take a look at your front and how you are attached
To this?
Yeah, that should just slide. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's just a loop right there.
Yep, exactly. So the only thing you could maybe do now is you could shorten your traces a little bit, and that'll help pull him back.
Okay, let me do that real quick.
And he may shrink on us at some point. Let's hope not. If he gets wet, he shouldn't get shorter.
No. Yeah, that one morning we were working out here and it was raining and his hair was all slicked down to him. One of the chatters was like, "Is Oggy too skinny?" I'm like, "He's just a wet dog."
Yep, they
get like a pool when you get them wet.
Well, they're dry when they're or they're fluffy when they're dry, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. You are being a very good boy. Thank you.
Well, this is good stuff. Even this is good, solid reinforcement of him standing still. That's good because you never know when you're going to have to do some kind of adjustment on something, or just stop and stand.
Or I lost a string on a hay bale and I need him to stand there.
There you go. Or you got horses just terrorizing everything around you, and he needs to stop and stand.
Yeah, that's going to be something we're going to have to work out too, definitely. Because once they start running, he's going to be like, I got to go.
Right. No, that's right. And that's why running horses or being around horses can be, can be quite dangerous. It can really be non-eventful too, but the potential is there.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago on Friday, I had one of the new employees and a friend of Suzanne's out here, and they were riding around the arena and, going over poles and working on their own things. And Oggy and I were just practicing stepping up to the stone boat. I was like, I'm ignoring them, you ignore them.
Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, that's just a good distraction, and just builds in focus and discipline in spite of what's going on around him.
Yeah.
So that was good use. That was a good use of somebody else, and they don't even know they're being used as a training tool.
No, they were like, "Oh, you're not going to ride? You're going to work with Oggy?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is what we need right now."
Yep. Yeah, nothing to see here. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Do your thing. Don't watch me. Okay, let's tighten up this. Yeah, I would like something that would be a little quicker to do and undo.
Yeah, well, and again, we're using knots and stuff where we could be using buckles and of course a Conway. There's nothing fast about a Conway buckle.
No. Well, I have one clip on each side on each trace, and that helps to get it attached just to the ring. But doing all this adjusting and stuff takes a minute.
Yep.
And then, of course, the more pressure he puts on the knot, the tighter it's going to be.
Oh yeah. Well, and then you got people watching, so you're like, I got to hurry, and you don't.
No, it's live TV, slow TV. Unless you're talking about you.
Not me.
Okay.
I'm content. I mean, I know what it takes, and the time it is what it is.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's hung up and needs to be cut free, there's no hurry. All right. You got your donkeys on the other side there. How are they going to respond to this? I would imagine they're going to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They really don't spook at anything. I mean, they'll kind of run away from something, but then they'll come back and check it out.
Right.
And Gertie especially likes to actually walk on the stone boat.
Oh, that's
the
good.
Captain of the stone boat.
Yeah, I would want The only thing I can think of is that you start to move and they kind of spook a little bit, and then he spooks because they spooked. Some of that herd mentality going on there.
Yeah.
Let's see how that does. That looks a little better, Ashley.
Good. Yeah, Maud's the only one, the little brown one. She's the only one that really spooks about stuff. Gertie's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Ha. Ha. Oh. Yeah, it's still coming back to that same point on his shoulder.
Okay. We're putting some stretch on those traces, it looks like.
Yeah, because I've had to pull him up now.
Yep. So, God, I wish we could. I'm thinking just back him up more right at the very end of, and where you're putting pressure on your holdback straps. There you go, like that. Now take your traces.
Okay.
See how you've dropped a lot of slack out of your traces. That might help. I'm really hesitant to move those. Not that you need the holdbacks, because the holdbacks are kind of slightly irrelevant right now because we don't have any wheels on this thing or we're on any ice. Because when he stops pulling, that stone boat will stop. But we still want to be able to get him used to feeling that britching and having some pressure on it. So this might help us out. And there's always a possibility. Let's see, I'm trying to look right now about the distance between his hind end and his legs and where the single tree is at, and that looks about right. So I'm thinking about the leather traces will stretch over time, but I think we're getting some real stretch out of these ropes that we're using for traces.
Okay.
You still should be having fun.
I am. This is a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I'm very interested in figuring out what's going to make it work so that way we can do this very efficiently.
Yeah, and again, this is we're figuring things out with this pack saddle and of course him, and he's pulling and we are putting a lot of strain on there. So, yeah.
Okay. I did find that putting the clips for the traces on the front of the ring on the pack board rather than the back one helps to pull them up too. So that's what I did today instead.
Oh, I see.
Last time I had them kind of towards the back.
Yeah. Yeah, you're raising them up about 1.5 inches then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's standing there just chewing. That's good.
Yeah, I had to pull him away from his breakfast and his mama, and he wasn't too keen on that.
Huh. Well, that's a horrible thing. Not.
He will survive. Okay.
I think we still got just a touch more room that we could go back, closer to that single tree when he walks. We've got plenty of room there. So if we have to, we've still got some adjustment there.
Okay.
Which is a good thing. I mean, he's gonna pull forward and stretch these traces or ropes a little bit that we're using for traces, but you've got him pretty well locked in there.
Well, you
go.
You just jacked everything up, Oggy. Big, deep breath. Gertie, do not eat my stone boat. Okay, let's give this a try. Are you ready, Freddie? Forward. Good boy. It's still digging into his shoulder.
Okay. One of the things we can do is we're going to need to drop the shaft loops down a little bit so that it's below his neck.
Yeah.
And then that way we'll avoid that. That's about all we got left.
Okay. Yeah, I'll figure out a rope or a twine situation for that.
Yeah,
They have longer straps, but it's just going to be the same thing where, like, I can't really attach them together unless I have a strip of leather.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think going with the rope idea is probably your best option, and so that way, just measure them down so that they drop a little bit lower, so you're not into his neck, and just he's below, or they go below his neck, and I think we'll be a little bit better off that way. So here we're going, just a series of small learnings all the time, and that's okay. That's kind of what this is about for us as well. There you go. Good.
Yeah, because I mean that's just really ticking him off, is having it dig into his neck.
Yeah. Well, we're giving him cross signals by doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to learn to turn into pressure a little bit, but at the same time, we don't want to
stabbing you in the neck. You don't.
Yeah, we don't need. Yeah, exactly. We don't need to be doing that. You're giving him a shiv every time you turn.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's another adjustment, and just bring it down so it's over the point of his. We're forward on the point of his shoulder. Now let's bring it down so that it's about where his breast collar is coming, about even with the breast collar, so that I think when you turn, about right there you go. It's going to be low enough that his neck will go over the top of it. It's not going to poke him and hit that throat. We certainly don't want to hit him in the throat or anything like that either. With the esophagus or windpipe. So I think we're going to learn a little bit there too, and hopefully we'll get there. But you just pulling him forward is really good. I mean, this is a really good test about that too. He's standing still for like some major adjustments. That's really good. He looks like he's been pulling a manure wagon for years. He's got that attitude like, I hate my job.
I hate my job.
And I'm really humble at it too, because it was a manure wagon. So that's where we are.
I really want to get him to pull the harrow, because I have a few spots like the mare's pen we need to do and the runway. They're too small for the truck to get into. And if I try it with a lawnmower, it's going to take me forever. But we got a perfectly good horse right here that could pull a harrow.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure how to get him hooked up to it.
A harrow usually goes behind you've got a little cart. It's not a cart. It's just, what's the name of it? Sorry. Where you're sitting on it and then it's hooked behind you. It's almost like it's a two-wheel cart.
Right, kind of like a little chariot kind of thing.
Yeah, almost. And then you hook the implement behind that. But you need a horse that's pretty well done, because you go over backwards. Guess what you're going to be right in front of that piece of equipment. And if that's a side delivery rake, and I know you're not doing any kind of things like that, or a buck rake, that's not an issue. But that's
it's just a hoof in a tricky situation.
It is, and so I would, my face can take a beating, but I don't know if I want to have a harrow pulled over the top of me.
That's fair.
Well, I think we're kind of where we're at, unless you just want to go forward with him, and that's kind of boring. You've done a bunch of that, but I think if you can get that adjusted down, Ashley, because you're going to drop that a good 6 inches, 7 inches, probably maybe even 8 inches, which is going to clear him plenty, and then you can start working on some of those turns like we talked about. I think you're going to have some homework and be able to go forward like you were last week, and hopefully it'll be both sound for you and him. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get it all fixed up to where we need it to sit before we try and do a bunch more work. Because I can pull him forward and desensitize him to it, but we really should get the turns in there too.
Yeah, and I would just take a chunk of that rope and make it so it you can kind of go through your D, your front D on both sides, and then just hang it down, see where your measurement's going to be, and then just throw an overhand loop on each end. And that, I think, is probably going to solve our problem there. And still, you could cut it a little long, so that's adjustable as well. And I've noticed since it is attached to the D, it doesn't allow the shaft loop to slide around. Yes. So as long as it's attached to the saddle, it'll be fine. Yep. Yeah, and I think that's easily you can run it through there, and it's almost like you're doing a lark's foot around your D. Run it through, and then just let it set over the top of it. All it is just wrapped around each side of it, but not so tight that it pulls on it, and loose enough that it will slide. And that nylon rope, I think, is probably a good idea for that yellow stuff you were talking about. It doesn't have to be strong, super strong. You're not pulling with it. You're holding with it, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think with that yellow stuff, then we could probably just do like a single strand of it and just have it wrapped around here, because it's strong. It's not going to just like snap off like twine would, but it's not as stretchy as this red rope.
And it's full nylon, right? The real slick nylon.
I think it's like a plastic kind of rope.
Yeah, that's nylon.
I don't even think it's nylon. Okay.
Probably polypropylene type. Perhaps, but and if it's it's twisted rope, you got a 3-twist in about the size of your little finger.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to be fine. I think that's more.
And it was the same rope I was using for the poles in the first place.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
So it's good stuff. Have you had it?
I like that. I like that he's backing into it, and he's not. Even this is fine. He's feeling pressure on himself all the time, which is going to leave him chewing. That's good. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Good. Well, I think we've probably done as much damage as we can do today. I think we've solved a few issues, and we'll be able to move forward from here, and we'll be doing some good things next week.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Well, I'll get this fixed up today or tomorrow, and then I'll send you some pictures of it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, the other thing we could do if something is not working real well is we can have James out there, and you can drag him around and see how willing he is to do that.
We'll see. You might have to pay him more for that.
I got to give him a bad time, because earlier he was telling me that he needs to have more film. I should be doing this middle of the night heifer check every night, and he's like, no, we're not doing that. I told him live stream, so we're going to drag him behind Oggy for a while. That'd fix him.
That seems fair.
All right, Ashley. Well, you have a good one, and got some homework. Good luck on this, and feel free to send me a picture. You do that once in a while, and I appreciate it, so we can help problem solve in the meantime. Good, definitely. Yeah, I'm back to work this week, so I'll send you lots of photos. Okay, sounds good. All right. We'll have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.